Welcome everybody to the Rally Cry podcast. I am your host, Angel Reels, and I'm so excited because as we come on this podcast, the one thing that we focus on the most is just improving on ourselves every day, even if that's 1%. So even if that's you driving, if that's you cleaning, or even if you're listening to us on YouTube and you're watching this beautiful atmosphere, I'm just so glad that you're here. And today we got an awesome guest, and I'm just so excited because when I have these guests come on, I really try to make sure that you guys get an insight on someone that's really making impact and really making change. So today we got someone that is a true change maker. We got Valenti Tulloch. Tulloch.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I say that right. He's a founder of ALA, which is Academic Leadership Association, a program that empowers youth through mentoring and self-advocacy. He trained over 160 educators across Western Mass, been recognized awards from NAACP, which is National Association for Advancement of Colored People. We need more of that. Come on, can I get an amen? And he's also been nominated for Business West 40 Under 40. So Valenti, thank you for coming on the show.
That was a great introduction.
Yeah, man.
160 educators, because there's probably more than that now.
I mean, probably way more. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, we did. We actually trained. Was it over 200 educators in Chicopee?
Wow.
Yeah, we did a. It was a long day. It was 6 hours. 2 3-hour sessions that was broken up. It was a choice PD day that they had, so they had us come in and do our work with their staff in an auditorium. You know, one of the biggest environments we've had, or biggest venues. So it was really cool, really great experience, man. Yeah, so
see, it's a perfect example how you are a change maker, because you're making change and it's still making up for it, right? Because like 160 and growing, that shows that there's impact. That shows there's some significance of where you're able to provide, especially to the youth, especially to these schools. So I'm just so glad that we're here to talk about it.
Yeah, man. You know, we did work with the kids, right? We started out with, and I know we're going to talk about this, but we started out with the idea of working with students and making or having some type of impact on how they experience education. But over the years and over the course of the work that we do, we noticed that the teachers needed support just as much or even more than the students did in bridging those connections. And, we can go in and work with 10 students, right, at a time, or depending on how many, we can, that they select on our caseload, or, we can go in and simultaneously work with the educators who can have, continue to build like their own,
relationship.
Toolbox of like relationship building that they can impact in their entire classroom or whatever kids come into their room. So
yeah, no, totally agree. I just off camera, we were just talking about how, like, being me being a TM, like I realized how much of the impact kids get mostly from school, right? Because we hear a lot of like adversities that come from school, right? We hear about bullying. We're hearing about how some teachers might not know how to, deal with certain kids and stuff, because there's a lot of personalities to deal with, right? So
yeah,
it can be a lot. So for you being able to be a support system for the schools and like so much more than that is really big. So I love that. And before we go into it, I definitely would like to break the ice with you. Enough said. So I'm gonna bring it out real quick. And so, guys, if you don't know, we got our domain is therallycry.com. If you have not got your Enough Said card game, you can do so in the link. I'll make sure I leave it down below. And it's really good to just break the ice. It could be with someone you just met, someone you've known for a long time, and it could be your significant other. You'll be surprised on the kind of questions, the kind of answers that you get when you just give the right question. So I'm going to shuffle this within my hand, making sure that everything is phased down. And then we are going to pick a card and just break the ice with this card game. All right, here you go.
just pick one.
Yeah. And what does it say?
Share an adrenaline pumping adventure you've always wanted to try.
For me, if I already got the answer, skydiving. I want to go skydiving. Like,
yeah. That's a good one, man. I've always been afraid of heights. So anything that involves,
height,
being in the air,
yeah,
it's tough for me.
Yeah.
Even like roller coasters
Yeah.
are tough for me. So honestly, I wanted to fly in like a helicopter
Hmm.
as like, because I've been on planes.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't really gonna step outside of like my comfort zone and
Mm-hmm.
just I guess being on a helicopter would be one, or
Yeah.
um, yeah, or you know what? Like I see like the race car
Oh, like
drivers,
yeah,
and they're going. I don't know how fast they're
like
going,
probably
but
more than 120 miles
just
per
being
hour.
like the passenger side of like one of those
Is there
Formula
stuff like
One
that?
cars. I think like I've seen actual celebrities like take a drive around the track.
Yeah,
So I think that would be pretty cool
that would be pretty cool. It's interesting because you say you and it's there's a pun to it, but being scared of certain heights. At one point, I used to be scared of heights, but with all the heights you've gone with, like your mission, your vision, and everything
Yeah.
you've been providing, so it's almost interesting. So I definitely want to start with like what led into you being into this organization. What made you wanting to start a nonprofit? Because I think sometimes when we see change, we just change it within ourselves, and then we keep it to ourselves. But for you, you wanted to make a whole organization. Why?
Yeah. Um, so we have a nonprofit, and we also have a for-profit organization. That's
Okay.
so. But the work around the reason why we kind of wanted to start this work is we've been doing this work for a while. When when I say we, I'm talking about my wife and I. But we graduated from Westfield State together, and then we had some opportunities to do some internships. So we began in human service. We worked at residential homes. I became a social worker, and I didn't love like being in social work. I didn't love that. I didn't want to have that type of impact with families, like from that lens, I guess.
Yeah.
So I went back to school and got my master's. Shout out to AIC. I got my master's in educational psych with a focus in adjustment counseling. So once I got that, I was presented with an opportunity, and I made the leap from social work to being a classroom teacher. And I was really learning as we kind of went along. And one thing I was I found myself being really good at was building connections, especially with students. They would always be in my room, right? We would always, to the point where I started a mentoring program at the school. Yeah, and we built that. It was called the Young Gentlemen's Club at the time, but we've seen we've seen the impact that it could have on not just the students and kind of their education trajectory, but also how it impacted the school culture, right? Because a lot of the students that were like high flyers and constantly, being in trouble, I guess, was they were really leaders within their own selves. So they really themselves just had a big impact on their social groups and what was happening. So once we kind of got that buy-in from them, that impacted their peers, and we started seeing less referrals, office referrals, and things like that, and attendance was improving. So over the years, I became a teacher. I became an adjustment counselor. The second year, I was in education. Then I became an administrator. So I was kind of moving up the ladder at the school we were in. Just I think we just looking at data, we had a big impact on what was happening there.
Right.
And shifting the culture there. So, then COVID happened. And, so we had some time and I was doing a lot of reading, a lot of research. And we tried to figure out, one of the conversations my wife and I had was like, how can we have an impact on the kids in our, because I was driving out to, it was like an hour away. It's a commute to
an
the
hour.
community I was working in, the district I was working in, Southbridge, actually. And we wanted to have an impact on the kids in our backyard. So, she came up with the name Academic Leadership Association. Started off as the LLC. Again, just learning as we go. But we took a lot of what our experiences were working in residential homes, working as social workers, working in schools, understanding how data works in schools, right? And what that looks like. And so once we created the program, it's a long-winded answer,
Yeah,
but
no, it's good. It's good.
once we created the program, we Latonia, you know
Yeah,
her,
yeah.
Latonia. She honestly, to this day, she's been so influential in everything we do, from the work that we do, right? A lot of the opportunities we've gotten are just because she's gracious enough to,
Mhm.
introduce us to the right people,
Yeah.
but even with our marriage, she's been influential in that. So,
Nice.
but she introduced us to Michael Calvinese over at Duggan. That
Mhm.
was our first school, and it was all virtual at the time, so we was really, connecting with students virtually, and
Which can be hard because
it was
engagement.
tough, man. It was tough, but from there, we were able to kind of build out a framework. The next, I think that next school year, it was like a hybrid model, I believe.
Mhm.
But we ended up starting to work with the students in the schools, and that year, we did a really good job, just kind of how we structured the program, and that turned into, the impact we had at Duggan turned into us working at JFK, which is another middle school. Kylie, we were working at Springfield International, so we went from one school to 4 schools.
Wow.
And then I was like, all right, like I can't. It's gonna be tough doing this job and running this company.
Mm.
So I just made the leap from working in the schools to, running a business full time, and we've been kind of going ever since.
That's a scary step too, like leaving your job and ensuring that everything that you got going on right now is going to be efficient enough,
Yeah.
because I think is the stability that you're trying to bring, but also making sure that stability is within yourself as well. Because as we know, right, you can't pour out of a empty cup, right? Or even you can say full cup, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, but I would say not being alone in the process too, like
Helps a
having
lot.
the support. And I saw your interactions with your girlfriend before she left, and
Yeah.
just having that support behind you. Yeah, I remember telling my family like, hey, and my wife's sitting right there, and we're like, yeah, I'm gonna quit my job and do this full time,
Mm.
and they're looking at me like,
How was that?
like what? Like they couldn't understand it. And we laugh about it now. But yeah, that leap is hard, and people come to me now. They're like, they're at that crossroads, and honestly, making that jump was the best thing I've ever done. We also had really good friends who lived in Houston at the time. We actually went out to Houston for a couple weeks,
Nice.
and just because they were entrepreneurs, so like working with them. Shout out to Cody and Mallory. They're actually on our board right now.
Nice.
Yeah,
Shout out to
but
them.
when I remember like talking to them, and they're like, "Man, you're never gonna be able to. You don't know what's gonna happen. You can always go back and work. You got your license. You can always go back and work in the school, but you don't know where you can truly take this."
Mm.
So he gave me a book, Steve Harvey. I think the book is called Jump.
Okay.
But he talks about making that leap, right,
Mm.
and trusting in God to. But yeah. So we made that jump, man. It was tough, but it was the best decision we've made.
Mm. I
Yeah.
love that. I think it's really awesome because when it comes to the thing that you're putting out, right, is always, and I look at it as well as an impact, right, as a change, because it's always looking at something that is an issue, a problem, and how can we, fix that, right? Make a solution for that, because it's really about being able to provide for that generation. Because I think it's always about there's something that maybe we are lacking from, and therefore we want to create a space that we probably never had. When you was creating the mentoring thing, like what was going on mentally or emotionally when made you be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this mentoring thing? Because making that step is really big, but something emotionally and mentally might have been going on. Was there?
Yeah. I think, and I just got done telling one of my buddies who's looking to start his own company.
Yeah.
God didn't give you the vision for no reason, right? Like I feel like that vision came to me, that idea of like starting this program, and it didn't come to me out of nowhere, right? Like it was something that I felt like it was, uh, and it's almost like a purpose. Like it's almost finding my purpose
Yeah.
in the work that we do, and really working in purpose, um, makes what we do so much more fun, right? It makes the job easier because that impact is something that is not just something you wanted to do. It's something God has put you in position to do, and you can't take that lightly. You know what I mean? So, but also like also just the work that we do daily. I was at a school yesterday, and this month we're focused on mental health. Mental health awareness month is May, so that's our focus this month. And just sitting with a group of kids, middle school kids, who this is the stuff that keeps you going, right? And but having those conversations where everyone doesn't get to see this side of kids, right? Where they feel emotionally safe to share out some of the things they're going through, right? And just hearing them talk about these experiences and talking about how they're dealing with them, and being able to support them in that process, and them trusting you. That's the stuff that keeps me going too, and inspires me to continue to have an impact, because a lot of times, especially young males, right, or men, when they become adults, is you're told not to express these emotions and talk about these things. And we're creating a space for students to do that now, 13, 14 years old, 12, which the more they can do it, the more they can process through what's going on, the less, they're going to be able to kind of operate in their daily life easier and navigate it. So it's that's the kind of stuff that keeps me going too.
Yeah, no, it's so powerful, because I was just having a conversation with one of my friends the other day, and a lot of times it's always asking like, oh, how's everything, right? And it was pretty recent, about 2 weeks, I was just stuck, right, feeling like, what is that next step that I want to do? Because when I started my business and making the podcast and the card game, it was really about how can I give back to the people. And it's also coming back from myself. Like, I was in a space that I didn't get too much support, but thankfully for technology, we got podcasts, we got books, we got things that can support us. And I realized that sometimes when you're having an idea, or if you're trying to figure out something, that's the space that we need to appreciate the most, right? Like, that the space when we're trying to figure things out, when you have ideas and we might be a little bit intimidated about how to approach that and execute that idea, that right there is called becoming. And when I realized that for myself, though, it unlocked me, though. I felt so much relief because I was able to put something on it. And I think when it comes to kids, they don't know what it is that they're feeling. Like, they just don't know. They feel it, but they don't know if it's upsetting. They don't know if it's like, oh, maybe they're anxious, and being a little bit honest, like, it's okay to be anxious, or maybe they feel like they're not enough because they're not getting enough of this, right?
Yeah.
And I think being able to bring that into awareness is then, like what you said, then they can move on to the next step.
Yeah.
Because we kind of hold on to the thing that we don't know until we do know. And that's why knowledge is everything, So I totally love that.
Yeah, we had a conversation, and it was about, not knowing what other people are going through, right? So, but also, having that information. One of our kids, he's an 8th grader, was like, yeah, my friend, we had a conversation the other day, and he told me that his parents are really struggling. And, so he noticed a change in the shift in, like, his behaviors and how he was acting. So he just kind of asked him, like, what's going on, and he kind of, like I said, he opened up to him, and, this student was like, well, he just wanted to support him in that moment, right? Well, this is where I'm going to be applying to this summer to work, and you know what? I've been there before when my mom had me young, so we didn't have a lot. So being able to kind of utilize his experience to help somebody else kind of navigate what their challenges are, and I'm like, man, this kid's only 13 years old, and so I feel like him being able to support his friend, who knows what kind of impact down the road that's going to have, and is continuing to have to this day. And so I feel like that, just having the space for him to be a part of that, he's impacting other kids that he's coming across. So
that's so awesome. And it reminds me of the studies that show with people that are depressed, right? Like, people that are feeling down, usually they do a intervention when you help someone else to do something. Like when you're able to give service to other people and you can see how they get content about what you did for them, you get happy for that.
Yeah.
And it is not really necessarily benefiting you because you're giving, but that's the point, right?
One thing we gotta be careful though is not pouring from like an empty cup, right? Like it's hard to really, and that's where self-awareness comes in, and we talk about that. But you know, you can't pour in other people, and you know, we always want to change the world, right? But who's, you know, you got to make sure you're okay too, and you know, I think that's important, right? So, you look at all these leaders, and you just wonder, right? Like you're doing all these things for other people, right? And it's not easy, right, to wake up and want to serve all the time, right? So it's important to have your own community, your own people that can kind of pour into you too. So,
yeah, I'm really big on the people that you surround yourself with because they are a big reflection of who you are as well. And you want to be around people that remind you of more of who you are rather than reminding you of people that you never recognize. Like, that's not me. Or who you don't want to be either. You know?
Yeah. Or who you used to be, right?
Yeah, that
Being
too.
around people who remind you, like, you know, they call me Lent.
Yeah.
But, oh, Lent, you ain't really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, that was 15 years ago, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
like, let it go.
Right.
I did.
Right. And that's just self-improvement, right? So you want to just, like, those people who kind of push you to be the best you can be, is important, man.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Sometimes I think about we need a little bit of both to recognize, like, the growth and measure that we've came, right? Because sometimes, like, I look at myself and I be like, damn, I feel like I'm not doing enough until you have people that, you know, say, oh, I see you. I can see what you're doing. You do this and that. And, you know, from the people that might have seen you even how you used to be, you look at that as a measure. I'm like, wow, that's how they used to see me. But I know that's not me anymore because I have other people in my circle that are really supporting into that next step that I'm doing.
Sure.
And even if that's every day.
Yeah. Do you find yourself seeking validation, outside validation a lot?
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's really like the reassurance and that I'm doing something good, you know, and I always try to go even deeper about, like, maybe that's how I was when I was a child, right? Like, growing up, I had my mom, my grandma, and maybe some influence in that, you know, maybe I didn't get enough reassurance about the things that I did. And I'm also the oldest, so at first I was the only child.
Yeah.
And I guess it could be just making sure that I'm doing the right thing and the right guidance. If someone could just be like, oh, I see you, you're doing good, that's enough for me. And that's why, like, the things I've done, and when people tell me I've been doing things and they like what I've been doing or inspire them or help them, that inspires me. Like the same way when kids tell you certain things or when someone tells you, like, hey, you're doing good. Like, if it can help one person, that's what matters the most, because I was in that position where I wish I had help, especially from somewhere that is local.
Yeah. And just back to your question about why you started it, I think that was it too. It was like wishing I had someone in schools that was my person, right? That was coming to check on me and kind of push me to do better, or just somebody that I could speak to, and help guide me through some of the stuff I was going through, right? Like I didn't have a father, but he was living outside the home. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think, you know, you I had a great big brother who really modeled, you know, what that was like he was a good mentor, right?
Yeah.
Without even like knowing probably. But I think that for me, that's some of the validation piece that I feel like I was, you know, in these last couple months I've been really like doing some deep, you know, dive into like what kind of makes me tick, why am I seeking this or this, and you know, you know, it's just a never ending quest.
Right. No, I felt that.
Yeah, it's like a never ending quest to figure out, but it's important. You know what I mean? It's important because you know, you if not, you know, some of the relationships you have, right, or don't have, a lot of it impacts those relationships because you have trauma you haven't dealt with, or You have things that you don't even know. That self-awareness again comes up where it's like, why am I reacting to this student this way, or why am I overcompensating over here? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is so true. I think sometimes when it comes to our self development, we think that there's gonna be an ending of it all, right? Like, oh, once I'm successful, I'll be happy forever, or I want to be happy every single day, and that's just a myth.
It's crazy, man. Like, it's so crazy, right? Because I thought, like, if I get this car,
Yep.
I'm good. Like, or if I get this watch, or if I get this whatever, right? Like, you're gonna feel like you've arrived, or you felt like you did something, right? But it's never the case. It's just a never-ending thing. Like, it's all, somebody said, it's all vanity, right? It's all something that you're trying to prove to the outside world, but you're still left empty inside.
It's really more of what you had to prove in the inside world, right?
Yeah,
What you feel. Sometimes what you feel is way more important than what you think, and that's when we talk about gut instinct and follow your heart and stuff like that, because it's just keep tying in with the fact that you can't be able to serve if you haven't even served your own justice within yourself. And if that has to be an extension of the thing you felt like you was looking for this whole time when you was younger, or even if it is now, if you're making that into business, great. Or even if it's joining someone that's in the same vision, right? And being around a support system is what we need, because we're social creatures. We want to be around other people.
Yeah, along this theme, I worked. So I started this organization. Is still in development stages, but it's called the Forum, and it's a space for Black and brown male educators to get together for fellowship. It's really to help improve the retention and recruitment of Black and brown educators entirely, but especially Black and brown male educators and people who are in the profession. We want to help keep them. Right, so with that, it feels like isolation, because there's not a lot of Black and brown males that work in schools. Right, so once a month we all get together and we have shared experiences. Like, we build relationships, we build connections, so you just don't feel alone all the time. And we're also trying to help support people to come into the profession, because all students perform better when they have a educator of color, right? Like, whether male, female, students perform better. It's like their studies have shown that. There's research done that shows that. It helps improve, especially students of color, their mental health, their emotional safety in schools. Having someone of color as they navigate education, it helps improve. Like, just become well-rounded, students. So we're trying to help recruit, and retain these individuals. So it's but I find myself like looking forward to these monthly meetups. So just to talk about, like, some of the stuff that happened that day, or like happened this past month, and everyone's in the profession. They're like, oh, that happened to me the other day. A lot of times where educators of color are, David Rudder, Dr. Rudder, he's on a leadership team of the Forum, but he calls it the black tax, right? Where you're asked to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right?
The black tax.
Yeah, so, you just asked to do a little bit more because, the students, you represent the student, body. So, whether it's helping with discipline or helping with working, talking to parents, and so having these opportunities to have, share these experiences makes the job a little easier. I like to believe.
Yeah, no, it's really important to be able to align things that are important so that I can give back to the community, because we want to be able to leave something like a tool so they can be able to do it on their own, right? Like, even as a TM, that's one of the goals, right? Being able to give you the resources, give you the tools so that you know what to do afterwards, even if I'm not there, right? And I think having a support system is something that we all need regardless. And I think that's where it is. Like, the reassurance is the support and guidance of knowing that, oh, okay, I'm doing it right. Like, there's times when I've done something with someone and realized that, wow, I actually could have just did it on my own, but I just wanted someone there. Like, it's almost like fixing a sink, right? You might not know how to do it, or you might do, but just in case, have someone there just in case if all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask too, I think, over the time of, with your organization, ALA, values can change, values can stay the same. But what would you say is one value that really keeps you grounded to continue to make decisions for the organization?
Yeah, I mean, God is like really the foundation of what we do, right? So, but even with that, we like to elevate student voice, right? And really look to provide equitable access for all students. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So, that's kind of and we look at a lot of data to help push that, and ensure that all students get a fighting chance. But student voice is primary, right? Like, I think that that student agency. It makes school for students just doing school feels a little better when your voice is accounted for.
Do you see sometimes when you've worked with the schools and just the whole system, that there's times where these kids don't have enough of their voice, right? Because I've seen, teachers that, they can get overwhelmed because there's a lot of kids in the classroom and stuff like that. Have you seen where it's been taken away from them, and that's why you promote a lot of youth's voice?
Yeah, I think it happens every day. Whether we work with the students or we don't. It's we have this training that and what and it's really the 4 steps to relationship building, right? So we start with like self-awareness, just being aware of like your own mental health, being aware of like your own triggers, right?
Yep.
So you don't kind of run into this cycle of this
doing it again, patterns, right?
So, and understanding bias too, right? Understanding your own mental reflexes of how you respond to certain things, right? Or certain students. And with that, and then from there we talk about building connections, so showing students you care and trust, or that you care about them, and you build this level of trust. And I think with trust, there's different ways that we can show that, right? But being having like this selective vulnerability where you can kind of share out personal experiences that align with like what the kids are going through, and or just showing up for what they got going on in communities. There's way more, but like there's
a lot
just
to
a few, right? And then with care, I think this really kind of lines to your question, is like showing students you care is just like allowing them space to speak about what's going on in their lives. And as adults, we always want to solve issues for them, right? Like a kid will come to you and they have an issue with another student, or they have an issue with this teacher, and right away we want to kind of go in and be the problem solver, right? And I always tell the educators and the people we work with, it's like sometimes it's good to just hear what's going on, say that sounds like a lot, and validate their concerns and say, let me think about it and come back to you. And then revisit them like 3 hours later, 2 or 3 hours later. And a lot of times they already solved the problem themselves, and they can kind of share what happened and how everything transpired. But one thing it does do is they feel heard, right? And they feel like you actually went out of your way to think about them, even when they're not around, and think about their problems, right? Even if it's like a problem that, as adults, we've gone through it, some of the stuff, so we have the answers a lot of times, but it's not always best for us to give them that answer in the moment. So
totally agree, man. It reminds me of one of the things that I really try to do when it comes to if someone's grieving, they're going through hard times and stuff. I ask a question, and The question is, do you want me to listen or do you want me to give you feedback?
Yeah.
And sometimes people just want someone to listen, and
Yeah.
being able to give them the space rather than making the decision for them
Yeah.
is such a big key factor. But I
man.
think it's like what you said, people always want to fix things. Like I've been there. I always want to fix things. Like you can't always be a fixer,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes just listening and observing can do way more than trying to do the thing for them.
Yeah.
Right? So totally agree.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That's pretty. I think it's just important that everybody that is listening is really big about having a support system and understanding yourself, right? Because you can't ask for help if you don't know what you need help in,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's the biggest struggle. And it's okay that you're always gonna feel like you need help, but from what you feel and what you're implementing all ties into a factor of how you do that. And I think within that, you've mentioned like it's a forever thing. Totally agree. How do
Yeah.
you manage your own mental health while building a space for the youth and others?
Yeah. I'm in therapy. It's like, yeah.
Amen to therapy. I believe in it, man.
Yeah. I'm in therapy. I like to serve in the church, right? One thing that I'm working on right now is like we do all these things, but it's important is what's going on at home, right? Like with your children, being present, limiting the distractions, right? That you have, whether it's social media and just phone, having your phone and whatever at home, and just being intentional about how you spend your time as a dad and as a husband. You know what I mean? It's something that you need. I think you need that foundation. I think you need that foundation to do this work.
Yeah.
That structure.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Close to home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's so if you don't, I think you'll find this work to be really challenging.
Yeah. I can assume that, there's a lot of communication at home between like, you guys are, doing the organization and other things that you guys got going on, right? Like there's a lot of time that you have to invest into like yourself. You got family time, you got you and your wife time, you got you and your kids time.
Yeah.
And I think being able to structure that so that everything is balanced out. And of course, you might feel burnout some days. Some days you might not feel like you're giving enough, but
Sometimes you just gotta say no.
yeah.
I'm terrible at saying no.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta say no to opportunities that don't align with
Yeah.
what you mentioned earlier. What keeps ALA grounded and what keeps your family grounded, right? It's like some of these opportunities are gonna come, right, as you continue to just do the work. Some of these opportunities are gonna come, right, as you continue to just do the work, and saying no because everything you're saying yes to, you're saying no to something else, right?
Totally agree.
So I gotta. That's an ongoing thing too, right?
Yeah.
This stuff is never ending, man. Like,
I know, right?
I hate to come on these podcasts and be like, "Yo, I got this all figured out," because I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so,
I think it's figuring it out and
Yeah.
continuing to do that, and that's the beauty of it,
for sure.
Yeah, like I think we live in a universe that forever expands, and for us to be in that universe that continues to grow, we grow along with it.
Yeah.
And that comes with being able to be in touch with that universe
Sure.
and stuff. And that aligns differently for everybody, and that depends on what your values are and stuff. I think, one thing I've learned a lot is working with kids. I worked previously at Mass Taekwondo for 2 years with these kids. And such great kids. I worked like 60 plus of them, right? And especially towards the summer, it can be hectic sometimes, right? Because there's so many. And I've learned a lot about myself through the kids. And I wanted to ask, like, along the times of you working with the kids, educators, has it changed more of your perspective on how you look at emotional intelligence?
Yeah, these kids come in with a lot of stuff that we don't see. I like to think of it. There's a picture out there that floats around. It's like of this iceberg, And above water, you see the iceberg, right? You only see a little bit of it. Underneath the water is, you know, all the stuff that we don't get to see, right? So it could be, you know, students facing hunger, right? Or homelessness. It could be, domestic violence. It could be, I said food insecurity, but it could be just they had an issue, they had a fight with an argument with their parents before they left the house. It could be they didn't get any sleep last night, right? And then they come in every day and they show up. So that resilience, children are really like resilient, and I think as educators, some educators do a really good job of this. It's just that check-in, that emotional check-in, that 5-point check-in, where we're just taking time, and a lot of them do it during morning meetings or that initial contact they have with the students, just to see what's going on and support them, right? In an unbiased way, right? So I think, but yeah, man, kids are really resilient, and they, yeah.
Sounds like we don't give them enough credit, like, you know, and I think it's just one of those things that with the resiliency, there comes to a point of like reassuring to what they're being resilient to, right? Bringing awareness, like what you said, like that's the first piece.
Yeah, and I think you can't, and we always talk about this. I work with this guy named Timmy Allen, Dr. Allen. So one thing we talk about is you can't skip steps. You can't skip steps. You can't think that if you don't have a relationship, with a kid, or a kid doesn't feel like they can trust you, you're not going to be able to really understand or have that conversation, and for them to open up about things that's going on in their lives, right? So that's when that repeated cycle comes in of like you're frustrated with the kid, they act out, you lose that connection, and then just kind of the thing happens over and over again. So you can't skip steps. You got to show students, and you got to genuinely care about them and genuinely build trust with them, so they can feel emotionally safe. And then from there, it could be partnership. Like you can show up and be a coach of learning, and let them kind of drive their own
car, their metaphorically car.
Yeah. And I'm just in the passenger side supporting you, right? Or I'm just like your coach, like kind of coaching you up, but like you want to do this. Yeah. So
I love that, man. I think, throughout the years, I've learned throughout my years, and as long as you've been doing it, it's been about probably almost a decade, right, give or take, that you've been doing like youth work, working within the schools, and just kind of going bigger, right? Because I think the more that you tackle on that vision that you have, you realize it's almost bigger than you. And, through God, through faith, and believing that what your vision is what allows you to be resilient, right? I wanted to ask too, like, through working with the kids and educators and being a teacher and being a coach and just been doing it for so long and getting these recognitions, these awards, do you think within all this experience, bringing it back to home, it allows you to be a better man and also be a better support for your kids and your wife?
Yeah, but awards aren't going to make me a better husband or a better dad.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no matter how many contracts we have, it doesn't.
Right. Do you think the experience with the youth and coaching them in that aspect really ties into how you are at home?
Yeah, I think I have a 13-year-old, and we work with a lot of kids that age. One, I'm kind of I get to learn from the kids probably more than they learn from me.
Yeah,
about like what's going on, with the fashion, the things they're into. And I'll come home and say something to my son. He'll be like, "Man, how you know about that?" Like, so he literally thinks I'm like this old man. But no, that helps, man. And but also, I think kind of experiencing or hearing some of the things I hear, working with some of the students I work with, it gives me a different perspective on some of the stuff like my kids may be going through too.
Right.
And some days I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, why was I more patient with a student than I was with my own son? You know what I mean? So that type of like introspective work is important too. It's like figuring out, because you don't want to treat any people outside your house better than you're treating like your own. You gotta do double the work at home.
Yeah.
Because he sees that. He sees like the relationships. We'll go to a basketball game, and I know most of the kids there. You know what I mean? Most of them I'm working with, and he sees that, and he wants that same effort for him. You know what I mean? So that's a good question, man.
Yeah. I was telling one of my kids, how you practice one thing is how you practice everything. Yeah. So if it's doing it at home or if it's doing it anywhere else, whatever that may be, you want to make sure that when you're practicing it, you're also being able to do it exactly the same way you'll do it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And man, I think a lot of it is introspective and, working with kids. I've learned a lot from them as well. And it taught me about who I am. Yeah. And also revisiting the things that made me more of who I am. Like that inner child is so important, and being able to be open and transparent about that with the kids as well. I'm like, hey, I was once like this. I once went through it. I wasn't perfect. Yeah. Because sometimes, kids can look at you as in like, oh, you got it figured out, right? Or you already did everything, or you got this and that. And they lose touch about what is the purpose of them being able to do the things they can do. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited, right? Because with everything that we talked about, I think that it's really nice to hear organizations like this, because I'm always about, like, what are the resources? Where can these kids go? Because sometimes it's not just about schools. It's way more than that. Yeah. And I want to go to our next segment. It's called Rally Rapids.
Okay.
And I actually narrowed it down to 5, so it's easier. So I have 5 words that I'm going to prompt you. And with that word that I give you, you're going to just tell me the first thing that you're thinking in your head to a sentence maximum. All right. So the first word that I have for you is legacy.
You said a sentence maximum?
Yeah.
I think it's leaving behind, it's in Proverbs actually.
Okay, I'll take it.
But it's leaving behind wisdom, right? Leaving behind some type of inheritance for your children, and just what you're going to be remembered for, what type of impact you're going to have.
Totally agree, man. I'm on board with that.
That was one sentence. I think I just broke it up with commas.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, we good. I take a couple of pauses too, and keep going. Second word is resilience.
Yeah, emotional resilience for kids and adults is kind of how you take things on and keep pushing forward.
Mm-hmm. Take things on and keep pushing forward. I love it. Third one is mentorship.
I think everyone needs a mentor. Mm-hmm. Some of the most successful people have mentors.
Yeah.
Somebody, it's almost like a MapQuest guide, right? Like you take a wrong turn, you got somebody like, nah, I actually been there before. Mm-hmm. You should go this way.
Yeah, A, B.
And help you get back on track, right? It may take more time because you took the wrong turn, but you're still headed to the right destination. You just need somebody to kind of guide you.
Yeah, you just got to be pushing through.
Yeah.
Take on, push through. Love it. Fourth one is vision.
Vision. I think a lot of us are blessed from God to give us vision, right? Some of us are even more blessed to understand how to execute the vision. Mm-hmm. There's a small percentage who actually execute vision, right? And those are the people that I think are the biggest change makers.
And here we are having one right here. You. There you go. And the last one is impact. I feel like we touched a little bit on it, but impact.
I think we did with legacy, but just what level of impact you have on somebody, right? Like, and I think if you go throughout your day and impact one person, that's
that's it. That's all you need.
You had an impact on somebody,
right?
In a good way, though.
Yeah,
it's important because you can have a negative impact too.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Well, hey, I'm so excited, man. Like, I definitely want to let people know how they can get in contact with you, right? Like, if it's ALA, if it's, seeing if they can be in partnership with you, or even if you got any events or that you got coming up you want to mention about.
A lot of people are calling us about we usually do a summer leadership academy. And first year was 6 weeks, last year was 3 weeks. We're just waiting to hear back on some grants and things like that and how we're going to structure it. So we got that. Trying to think of what else. We have a couple of things that we're doing in East Windsor, working with some of their they call them Ed Rising students. Students are interested in becoming teachers, so we're doing workshops with them. We're doing a leadership workshop with another group of high school students that they have. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I think just continue to do the work with schools, with the school base. I don't even call it. Mentoring is a component to the work we do, but we don't actually call it mentoring anymore. It's a school based service. It's a comprehensive service, right? We do home visits. We're pushing into the classroom. We're advocating. We're attending 504 and IEP meetings. Like, it's nice. Mentoring's a part of what we do, right?
It's a byproduct.
That's a good. Yeah, I like that. So we got that. We got some professional development stuff that we're doing with teachers next year. That's probably right now. It's one of my favorite things to do is the PDs. We actually going out to Maine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for professional development, we're doing work with NELMS.
Yeah, you're a couple places, definitely expanding more out of Western Mass. So that's pretty good. See?
Yeah.
Talking about making step elevation. You said you're scared of heights, but I don't know. You're reaching up there, man.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
When I finish this doctoral program, actually, this time next year, I should be finished with the dissertation piece.
Nice.
God willing, and when I'm finished with that, I really want to become an author. And
you will.
Thank you. And really, really travel and get into the schools across the country.
Well, all I'm saying is that when it comes out, I need your autograph.
I'm gonna have a nice little book signing and everything.
There you go. Yeah. Have to go on a book tour.
Yeah, I mean, even the stuff we talked about today is it started out with just like being good at something or feel like you're good at building connection, but we built the framework on how it works.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we have success stories that we can share. We have and really helping people who read it, or helping people who we go into the schools for understand that they're not alone in trying to. A lot of times you be like, yo, you got to go build a relationship with the students first, and it's like sometimes that's like asking somebody to do long division, and they don't even know one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they don't even know multiplication or adding and subtracting.
Right. So it's going in and giving them a step-by-step guide and supporting them through that process. And also, like, a lot of teachers are doing great work with that. I don't want to say hate, but I just, sometimes we overlook the great teachers out there. And in light of Teacher Appreciation Week this week, it's like a lot of great teachers doing this, showing up every single day and don't get any acknowledgement they deserve. But they're doing the work.
I know a couple.
Yeah. I know a lot.
I can imagine.
I know a lot. So, but like I said to say, in these sessions, utilizing the experience in the room to help support the new teachers or the teachers who are, there's a barrier there. So, yeah, man.
Yep. I love it, man. Everybody, Valenti
Tulloch.
I want to make sure I don't say it wrong, man. It's a unique last name, so it's the only person that I know with Tulloch last name. So that's pretty. Where does that come from?
My dad is Jamaican and
okay,
Chinese.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Yeah,
okay, very diverse. I like it.
Yeah, man. So
that's pretty dope. Well, hey, before we close out, I got something for you. So I got white, blue, black, right, for a shirt.
Oh, okay.
What size are you?
Large.
Large?
Yeah.
What color? White, blue,
White,
black.
blue. I'll take a blue.
Blue?
Like blue.
Large?
Yeah.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Blue, large?
Yeah, I would have bought you some shirts or some.
Hey, it's okay. You know where to find me now. So.
I appreciate you,
Here
brother.
you go. Go ahead. Open it up. Let's see, I want to see if you like it first. If not, I'll just take it back. Nah.
I think I've seen these shirts.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's nice.
Thank you. There's a license plate. Keep moving.
Yeah.
Positive state of mind. Because it's a license plate.
Yeah, I get a nice picture in this and put it on IG.
Yeah, sir.
Shout you out.
There's a QR code in the back tag there in the inside of the shirt.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah, and you can scan it. It goes to one of the episodes that me and my best friend made. That he lives in Texas now, but it was
What
talking
part
about
of Texas?
Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're talking about positive change and what does a positivity mindset do, because sometimes we look at it, oh, you're being naive, but it's not necessarily what you think, but it's more about looking at and focusing on the positive things.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but a negative thought or negative statement said out loud is 10, I think it's 7 times. I could be wrong,
I wouldn't
but
be
it's a
surprised.
significant amount more impactful than anything positive stated. So,
Yeah. Words have a lot of power.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Especially negative words.
Yeah, right. That's why you got to be careful what you say. Say what you mean, we mean what you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, everybody, I am so glad you guys stood by for the entire episode. If you got anything from this, please comment down below on some of your insights. If you shared on Instagram, or even if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, if that's Apple, Spotify, and you're not subscribed, just connect so that we continue to have more guests like Valenti here, and just continue to make change, impact, resilience, take things on, and just keep on moving to the next step. So until next time, you guys be easy. Peace.